Good evening, and I'd like to welcome my fellow councillors, the CEO and council officers, including those in the gallery and others watching the proceedings online, to this evening's regular meeting of the Mansfield Shire of March the 18th, 2025. So I'll officially open the meeting now. Apologies, Madam CEO. Item 3.
No apologies, Mr. Mayor.
No apologies. So I'll read the statement of commitment and call on each councillor to confirm their commitment. As councillors of Mansfield Shire, we are committed to ensuring our behaviour meets the standards set by the Model Councillor Code of Conduct. We will, at all times, faithfully represent and uphold trust placed in us by the community. Councillor Tehan.
I confirm my commitment.
Councillor Treasure.
I confirm my commitment.
Councillor Clark.
I confirm my commitment.
Councillor Brennan.
I confirm my commitment.
Thank you, and I confirm my commitment. I'll ask the Deputy Mayor for the acknowledgement of country, please.
Yes, certainly. Our meeting has been held on the traditional lands of the Taungurung people. We wish to acknowledge them as the traditional custodians and pay our respects to their elders past and present. We extend that respect to all members of our community.
Thank you. Item 6, the disclosure of conflicts of interest. I'll call on each councillor in turn and ask them to declare whether they have any conflicts of interest, and then I'll open that up to our council officers. Councillor Tehan.
I have no conflicts of interest in relation to tonight's agenda. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Treasure.
No conflict to any agenda item.
Thank you. Councillor Clark.
No conflicts of interest for me tonight.
Thank you. And Councillor Brennan.
No conflicts of interest from me.
And I have no conflict of interest to any agenda item tonight. Any conflicts of interest for council officers?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to declare a conflict of interest to item 13.3.3, the employment matters, CEO employment matters, terms of reference.
Thank you, Madam CEO. None other. So item 7, the confirmation of last month's minutes.
Yep.
Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move that the minutes of the Mansfield Shire Council meeting held on the 12th of February 2025 be confirmed as an accurate record.
Thank you.
And I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Fisher. All those in favour of the motion? The motion is carried. Yes. Item 8, representations. Ms. Young, no representations or questions tonight. Item 9, notices of motion nil. Item 10, the Mayor's report. I'll take that as read, councillors.
Yep.
Councillor Clark.
I'll move that council receive the Mayor's report for the period 13th of February 2025 to the 12th of March 2025.
You, and if I've got a seconder, Councillor Brennan. All those in favour of the motion? That motion's carried. Thank you. Item 11, the reports from council appointed representatives. The Australia Day Awards Committee has not met. Goulburn Murray Climate Alliance, Councillor Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the Alliance met on Thursday, the 20th of February online, which was mainly a procedural meeting to select a new chairperson, as well as to go over just the general commitment to the Alliance from different councils and their officers and other stakeholders, of which I'm proud to announce that I'm the chairperson of that committee, which continues a long line of Mansfield councillors being chairperson. Like Mark Atley was back a few years ago, as well as Rowan Webb. So honoured to be a part of that. There's good discussions in there on how we could collaborate, and I'm meeting regularly with the executive assistant who governs that. So the next meeting in a couple of weeks of another report for the next council meeting.
Thanks, councillor Brenny, and congratulations on behalf of all of us here at Mansfield.
Thank you.
The Hume Regional Local Government Network met on the 6th of March, and I was not in attendance. So, Madam CEO, can you take over?
Yep, happy to give a quick update on that one. The Hume Region Local Government Network did meet and consider advocacy priorities for the Hume region. It confirmed 7 priorities. I won't read through all of them, but 2 that were added to the list this time around were a priority to advocate in relation to planning reform and making sure that as particularly responding to the state's growth targets, that the growth happens in a way that's well planned and reflects the character of our country regions. The second point that was added was the impact of the Emergency Services Volunteer Fund, the increase in the levy, and advocating to have that applied in a fair and consistent way rather than what seems to be currently proposed. And it was also discussed that there are a number of motions going forward to the Municipal Association of Victoria State Council from the various shires around the Hume region in support of those advocacy priorities.
Thanks, Madam CEO. The Mansfield Shire Council Audit and Risk met on Thursday the 13th last, and I'll ask Councillor Treasure to give me a report on that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to note some outcomes of the audit and risk meeting held last Thursday. It was attended by the external members, Councillors Raby and Treasure, executive staff and representatives from AFS and associates who conduct our internal audit, and the Valuer General's Office who perform the external audit of the financial statements. Some of the items discussed included the implementation and transition to the new IT systems and the risk associated with going live, the ongoing issue of cyber attacks and fraud generally, safe and reliable backup and storage of council data, and the use of AI, for which a policy has been written to assist in a more streamlined provision of council services whilst combating any potential privacy leaks. Our executive staff are aware of and implementing new safeguards to protect our data and systems from increasingly more sophisticated attacks. Planning issue raised were around Plan for Victoria, which was essentially a plan for Melbourne, which has removed community engagement and the right of appeal. The financials show Mansfield Shire is tracking well against budget and benchmarks. The risks raised were possible cash flow issues, which are all timing issues, and the potential backlash against the new Emergency Services and Volunteers Fund. Overall, the meeting was without incident, which is in an audit and risk environment is the desirable outcome. Any excitement is usually a result of something going awry, so the desired outcome is no surprises, no excitement. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
One, Councillor Treasure. The MAV, Municipal Association of Victoria, has not met. North East Local Government Waste and Recovery Forum, Councillor Brenny.
Yes, yeah, I've got a report. We met yesterday, Monday, 17th of March over in Wangaratta, and I was accompanied by 2 council officers, Melissa Reid and Mayor Maradovich. Belvanova. That was a really good meeting. Had a few apologies from the meeting, but still had a good turnout, about 13 of us there. And a good mix of council staff and councillors. So there's a lot of discussion around the standardisation coming out of the state government on waste, which we've discussed a bit at this council, and the rollout of the bins. So getting good insight into how other councils are approaching that, as well as their opinions on sort of how effective collecting glass from these outer reaches of regional Australia can be in terms of the overall mission. So there'll be further chats about that, how to do it efficiently, as well as those recommendations on purchasing and some other things, as well as some good talks on the rollout of green waste and FOGO. And the other shires were very impressed with the contamination rates that Mansfield was receiving, as well as the initial take up, saying that the stats were looking really good following what they've done in their shires. And so should be commended on the council's rollout in the education program. So I'll pass that back on to council, and we'll meet again in a couple of months. That's all to report.
Who's the chair now?
I am the chair of that forum as
Thanks for
well.
letting us know.
Sorry, apologies.
Congratulations.
Congratulations,
again.
Thank you. I'm getting good practice in the chairing meetings now.
You are, councillor Brennan. Thank you very much for that. Rural Councils of Victoria has not met. Station Precinct Museum Community Asset Committee. We met, we had our first meeting on Tuesday, the 25th of February, to discuss the terms of reference of the committee, an MOU, financials. It was the first meeting. So there was a lot to sort of get through and work out where we're going with this. So the next meeting's going to be on April the 22nd at 10 a.m. and I believe we're having it down at the station precinct, hopefully, with any luck. So stay tuned for that one. I'll have more to bring to you once that committee gets going. The Taungurong Local Government Forum has not met yet, and so that is the reports from council appointed representatives.
Okay. I'll move a motion.
Yep.
That council note the verbal reports provided by councillors in relation to their representation on internal and external committees.
Thank you. And a second that, councillor Clark. All those in favour? Pass, thank you. So on to item 13.1, the Chief Executive Officer's report. I'll take it as read. So are there any comments or questions, councillors?
Just one question, might be for Ms. Crane, perhaps up there. 45 Proud Lane planning application, a retrospective one. Can you just would you sorry to spring this upon you?
That's okay. It's not one, I might need to take that on notice. It's not one I know details of. Usually a application like that will have been somebody has put something on there without a permit and they've gone through the permit process rather than removing it. It's usually been raised as a compliance matter, but I'm happy to take that on notice and provide further information to councillors.
P19823. But yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, I meant to ask you earlier. Anything retrospective always of interest.
Certainly. I will provide some information.
Councillors, any more questions or comments in that case?
I've just got a comment that looking at the request versus complaints statistics for February, impressive stat of 147 requests and only 2 complaints, and some very positive comments in there. So congratulations.
Great.
That's all.
Another just one other comment too that I did have highlighted, and I think Councillor Barini touched on it before, but is the landfill diversion rate percentages, which are really good, and just noted, you know, the influx of rubbish that comes into our shire during January when you look at those figures that we have to deal with. So, but even so, there was still a high percentage of diversion in that month, so that was good.
Yeah, absolutely. Carry in, carry out. And you like?
Just one question. I don't know,
Councillor Treasure?
with sort of a question without notice too. The rock seeding around the horse statue, was that always planned, or was that perhaps part of the mitigation of maybe people not cutting through?
Through the mayor. No, that wasn't always planned.
Yeah, okay, that's, it is, yeah.
But it
okay.
was deemed to be necessary.
Yeah, no, I
Just to
understand.
make sure that
Yep.
it gives a bit of a visual indication that you're about to potentially walk into a horse if you don't have your
Well,
eyes
actually,
open.
that looks quite effective. It looks good, so.
Side outcome.
Yeah, exactly.
More
All
seating,
right.
Well, I think it also makes you slow down because you're not
Mm,
focused.
and more seating is always welcome.
Yeah, that's right.
that's right. And a very innovative approach.
It
from
is,
our-
no, it's a good
our
way of doing it without
services.
looking like you've, yeah,
Yeah.
without wrapping the tail in bubble wrap.
Councillor Clark.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to move a motion that council receive and note the Chief Executive Officer's report for the period of 1st of February 2025 to 28th of February 2025.
Thank you. And have I got a seconder? Councillor Bruni. Councillors, all those in favour of that motion? And the motion is carried. Thanks, Madam CEO, for a wonderful CEO report. Item 13.2.1 is the asset management policy. The purpose is to seek council endorsement of the revised asset management policy. Any questions, councillors? Okay, so councillor Teagan.
Yeah, I'd like to move that council endorses the asset management policy 2025.
I'll second that.
Thank you. And a seconder, councillor Treasure.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, does any councillor want to speak to that motion or against the motion? In that case,
No, I'll just say, yeah,
You want to speak to the motion?
yeah, that's all right. Just
Absolutely.
very briefly, I just think it's the policy was first implemented in 2010, and it's a really good policy and it works really well. Hence, there's very little change to the policy at all. So if it's not broken, don't try and fix it.
Would anyone else like to speak to the motion? Anyone like to speak against the motion? In that case, I put this motion to a vote. All those in favour of the motion? The motion is carried. Item 13.2.2, which is the special rates and charges policy. A responsible officer is Ms. Crane. And the purpose is to seek council endorsement of the revised special rates and charges policy. Councillors, have you got any questions about this item? Councillor T.
Yeah, Miss Crane, just a question regarding the submission that was received. It was a bit out of character well, not the normal place where you would put a submission of that sort in for a policy like this. Would that be correct?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, that is correct. So the feedback that they put in has been directed to the appropriate area, and the person who made the comment advised of that. So it's been dealt with in a different way.
Thanks, that's it.
Any other questions, councillors? No? Yep.
Happy to move that council endorses the special rates and charges policy 2025.
Thank you. Have I got a seconder? Councillor Clark. Would anyone like to speak to that motion? Against the motion, in that case, I'll put this motion to a vote. All those in favour of the motion? And that motion is carried. Thank you. The item 13.2.3 is the licence agreement, Mansfield Mechanics Institute. The responsible officer is Ms. Maya Belvanova. And the purpose to seek council endorsement to enter into a 15-year licence agreement with no further terms with Mansfield Kindergarten for the use of the meeting room 1 of the Mansfield Mechanics Institute.
She's having troubles trying to join online.
Yeah, okay.
Melissa, you also
Ms.
take-
Crane, will you take
I'm happy
you-
to take questions rather than
Yeah.
make the meeting delay.
Perfect. We'll move on then. Councillors, have got questions regarding 13.2.3? Councillor.
I just have one. I noticed, and I think it's a good agreement. Why did council enter this agreement for 15 years rather than say a 5 or 5 or 5?
Yes, certainly. Through you, Mr. Mayor, the 15-year agreement is in alignment with the other agreement they have in place with the kindergarten for the remainder of the site. So it's just making sure that they've got their certainty of tenure across all of the parts of the site that they're using.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions or councillors? All right, well, we do have a recommendation on page 17, councillors. Councillor Teague?
Yep, I'll move that, oh,
You want me to do it?
yeah, you go. I don't want to read all that out.
It is
Are you
requested-
moving it?
No.
No, I'll move it.
Councillor Treasure
Yeah.
is moving the
Yeah.
motion.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
That council, one, endorses the proposal to enter into a license agreement for the use of the Mansfield Mechanics Institute meeting room 1 with the Mansfield Kindergarten for the period of 15 years with no further terms, with a commencement date of the 1st of February 2025. 2, receives an annual license fees from the Mansfield Kindergarten of $275 ex GST with an annual CPI adjustment. 3, provides public notification of the intention to enter a license agreement with the Mansfield Kindergarten. And 4, endorses the Chief Executive Officer executing the license agreement on completion of the public notification process.
Thanks for reading all that out, Matt. Councillor Treasure, would anyone like to second the
Very
motion?
exhausting.
Councillor Clark. Now, Councillor you, Treasure, you move that motion. Would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Clark, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? Would anyone like to speak against the motion? In that case, I'll put that motion to a vote. All those in favour of the motion? And that motion is carried. Item 13.2.4. Is the fee waiver request for junction support services, and Ms. Belvanova, are you in yet?
Just joining now.
Coming in? Okay, so I'll read the purpose. To seek council consideration of a fee waiver request from Junction Support Services for consulting room hire fees at the Mansfield Family and Children's Centre, which are applicable under council's adopted fees and charges schedule. The waiver request is for 50 hours of room hire annually for a period of 3 years. Is Ms. Belvanova in yet? There you are. Good evening, Ms. Belvanova, and welcome. Can you hear me?
So might have to
I
take.
think the screen's
Yeah, there's
locked as
something-
well.
The connection issue there.
So, Ms. Crane.
Good evening.
Oh,
There we go.
here we go.
It's
Good
Kathleen.
evening. I can hear you, but can you hear us and see us? Ms. Belvanova. I think we have a connection issue.
Yeah.
I think, in this case, given IT problem, perhaps.
I apologize. It should be back on now.
Oh, okay. Welcome, Ms. Belvanova. Can you hear and see us okay?
I can hear and see you okay. Thank you for your patience.
Perfect. Right, I'm just reading out item 13.2.4, which is the fee waiver request for the Junction Support Services. Over to you, councillors, if you've got any questions about this item.
Hi, Ms. Belvanova. This is obviously a fee request from an organisation that operates from outside of the Shire. So what's the and there obviously is no or there isn't any service provider for this from within the Shire. Can you just give us a little bit of detail as to what this service will provide and why it's so important to the community?
Certainly. Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. So the service provides targeted evidence-based therapeutic intervention that helps individuals to rebuild their sense of self, process any trauma involved, and regain control over their lives. They really need a safe environment to be able to receive such a service, as we believe an unsafe environment in their homes, for example, when there is a trauma and violence in place, such a service, for example, online, would not be possible. The closest service to Mansfield, such a service which is provided, is in Wodonga at the moment.
Thanks. And is it correct that the Mansfield local government areas had about a 38% increase in family violence since 2024?
Yes, that's correct. I can confirm. We have received that information from Mansfield local government and confirmed by the Junction Support Services.
That's a pretty alarming statistic.
Mm.
Yep.
Thanks. Thanks, Ms. Belvanova.
Councillors, any more questions?
No questions.
Councillor T.
I'll move that council approves a fee waiver for the hire of consulting rooms at the Mansfield Family and Children's Centre, allowing up to 50 hours annually for 3 years for junction support services.
Thank you. And
I'll second.
Councillor Treasurer, you're
Yes.
seconding the
Yes.
motion?
Mr. Mayor.
Councillor T, would you like to speak to that motion?
Only to say I think it's an incredibly alarming statistic, and anything we can do to help these people, I think we need to really support. So very good to see them coming here to our Shire to help out.
Thank you. Councillor Treasurer, you want to speak to the motion?
No, thank you,
Does
Mr. Mayor.
anyone else want to speak to the motion?
I'd like to speak, Mr.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
In support of the motion that having worked in this area myself previously, it's I'm sure we're all aware it's really hard to get services in Mansfield. And it's really important for us to come up with creative solutions for providing this for our community, and supporting them by housing them in a council building is a really good option at this point. And hopefully we can continue to attract diverse services for our community, especially with things as important as family violence. So I'm excited to have them come to Mansfield and offer this.
Good one. Anyone else want to speak to the motion? Does anyone want to speak against the motion? And I'll put that motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. So is that finished for you, Ms. Belvanova? Thanks very much for coming. Short and sweet. Item 13.2.5 is the advocacy position on clause 53.24 future homes. It's a request from the Banyule City Council. Our responsible officer is General Manager Planning, Ms. Crane. Now, the purpose of this is to seek a resolution of council regarding the request for support from Banyule City Council in their advocacy in relation to the new clause 53.24 future homes introduced to all Victorian planning schemes. It's before us tonight on their request. Councillors, do you want any questions for Ms. Crane? Councillor Barini.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question to you, Ms. Crane, on the relevance for Mansfield, seeing as Banyule is quite a distance from Mansfield, and how this future homes might impact Mansfield into the future, why we may support.
Yes, certainly. So through you, Mr. Mayor, this is probably the first time I'll ever say it's an advantage not to have public transport options in Mansfield, because it means that the limits on this the provisions don't apply directly to us as a municipality. The issue we're supporting really for Banyule is the broader message that it's sending with these type of provisions being put in place, where it's reducing the ability of councils to make decisions that have the best interests of their community in mind. It's also trying to encourage more codification, which it tends to result in cookie cutter developments being put in place, and which is certainly not something we would support from a Mansfield perspective in terms of character. And it's another example that we've been coming into of metrocentric planning being applied regionally. So as you can see, our neighbours in particular, you look at Strathbogie, they could be severely impacted by this provision because they are on a passenger rail line. So it wouldn't take much, as much as it doesn't affect us now, it wouldn't take much for state government change to the provisions within it, where it says it must be on a passenger train station, to say it must be on a Department of Transport road. And next thing you know, that could be applied here. It wouldn't take a lot for that change to be applied more broadly. So the concern is about how these provisions are coming in and how they're affecting our ability to influence outcomes from a local perspective.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Ms. Crane. Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Barini.
Yeah, I'll move that council endorses the mayor to write to the Minister of the Planning, the Honourable Sonia Kilkenny, to request urgent removal of clause 53.24 future home provisions from Victorian planning schemes until such time that a consultation process is undertaken with our community by the state government about the appropriateness of clause 53.24 future homes in Victorian planning schemes.
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, Councillor Clark, you're seconding my motion.
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
am.
Councillor Barini, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
Councillor Clark,
No, thank you.
any other councillor want to speak to the motion? Any councillor want to speak against the motion? In that case, I'll put this motion to a vote. All those in favour of the motion? The motion is carried. Item 13.3.1 are the instruments of delegation and appointment and authorisation. The responsible officer's governance and risk officer, Ms. Young, is always here with us. The purpose is vanilla. It's part of what we do at council. So I'll open up any questions to councillors or comments that you might have. Councillor Barini.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
Have there been any significant changes to these delegations that you think we would need to know about? Or-
No, there hasn't. So it is just a requirement that you review them within 6 months of being elected. There's been no changes definitely to S5. There's been minor changes to legislation through S6, which are just mainly just some word variations, and that's come through Maddox, who we subscribe to for our authorisations. And then S11A and S18 haven't changed. There's just been some title changes. So for S18, we've now got a cadet environmental health officer. So that's been included.
Thank you. No more questions.
Any other questions, councillors? In that case. Councillor Clark, and I'll give you the opportunity. You don't have to read it all out.
Thank you.
Take page 27.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move the motion that's recommended on page 27 of the council agenda for the 18th of March 2025, and apologies to those online for not reading it out, but it is quite long.
It is. Well, thank you. Second the motion, councillor Bruni. Would you like to speak to the motion, councillor Clark?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Would any other councillor want to speak to the motion or against the motion? Right, I'll put that motion to a vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you. Item 13.3.2 is gifts, benefits and hospitality policy. The responsible officer is Coordinator Communication Governance and Risk, Ms. Bone. He's not here tonight, so I'm assuming you're taking over. Okay, good. The purpose to seek council endorsement of the revised gift, benefits and hospitality policy. Councillors, got any questions? Comments? In that case, councillor Clark.
I would like to move that council endorse the gifts, benefits and hospitality policy 2025.
Thank you. Seconder for the motion, please. Councillor Bruni. Does anyone want to speak to the motion?
Just to say that there's going to be a few of these policies coming up as we align with the gender impact assessment across the policies, which is the only change that's happened to this one. But yeah, there'll be a few more items.
Good point. Thanks for bringing that to our attention to that. Yes. Anyone else want to speak to the policy? Against the policy? Put the policy to a vote. All those in favour? And that motion is carried. Thank you. 13.3.3, the CEO Employment Matters Committee Terms of Reference.
Declare a conflict of interest.
Declaring a conflict, Madam CEO, we will bring you back in as once we've discussed it. The responsible officer is Governance and Risk Officer Ms. Young. Okay, councillors, is to seek endorsement of the revised CEO Employment Matters Committee Terms of Reference. I'm looking for any questions or comments on that attached policy. Terms of reference, right?
Who's Miss Young, is it?
Ms. Young.
I don't have any questions, no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just.
No one else has got any questions? I have
So just the bottom one, the reassignment of the secretariat support responsibilities from the people and culture advised to the governance and risk team. That's just a admin movement.
I think it's
Just from one
correct.
department to another. Yeah.
Which we do report to the people and culture.
Oh,
Old advisor, that was a past role.
yeah. Oh, I
once they
see.
moved
Yeah,
into the executive role.
Didn't really ring a bell to people and culture.
I think that's more structural than.
Yeah,
individual
then
change.
yeah, I thought so. Thank you. Thanks, Ms. Young.
Councillor Terence?
Well, I'd like to move the motion.
Yes.
All right, if everyone's, yeah.
Mhm.
But the motion will like to endorse the Employment Matters Committee Terms of Reference, but with a couple of changes. So, those changes will be under point 3 in the terms of reference. Sorry, the changes to the terms of reference 2025. And the first one is under point 3 in regards to the quorum, which at the present time, it requires a quorum of 3 councillors for the meeting, but I'm proposing that a quorum must consist of a chair and at least 2 other committee members in that space. And the reason behind that is that at the moment, you have to have 3 councillors, which is all there is in the committee. So if one councillor is away, then the committee can't meet. So, but by having at least 2 other committee members, it makes sure that there are 3 people, given that the committee is made up of 4, that there will be 3 people present at the meeting.
Yeah, that's imminent sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
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 And the second point is under membership of committee, under terms of reference, point 3, the last sentence, which states the engagement of independent advice, if requested by the committee, will be undertaken by an officer appointed by the CEO. I'm proposing that we just delete that sentence altogether, because I feel that given that this is about the CEO employment and everything related to that, that the CEO shouldn't be in charge of appointing an officer in that respect. So I believe that if we take that sentence out, it just means that the committee can at any time obtain independent professional advice in relation to matters dealt with in the CEO employment and remuneration policy, which is quite straightforward. So those are the 2 proposals that the 2 changes I'd like to put forward to go along with endorsing the rest of the policy. So,
and just to be quite clear,
And
membership, point 3, membership of the committee, the last line, which is in page 2, you're suggesting we have the committee can at any time obtain independent professional advice in relation to the matters dealt with in the CEO employment and remuneration policy, full stop.
shouldn't that say CEO Employment Matters Committee, not CEO Employment Remuneration Policy? Relation to matters dealt with in the CEO Employment Matters Committee.
Well, because
We're in reference to the committee, membership of the committee.
I think the committee can obtain a professional advice in relation to the policy. Is that
Okay.
meant to be worded?
no employment matters committee. Remuneration policy.
It specifically says policy.
Yeah.
If you want an independent advice on.
Oh, yeah, no,
That's all right.
yeah, no, as it is, yes.
Yep.
For the employment and enumeration policy, which is what it's talking about, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Councillors have yeah, so hang on, I'm just
So I can be a little bit more specific in the recommendation now. Is that what?
that's okay. I'm just looking up the governance rules, because when we changed the recommendation, the motion, and that's fine. Okay, so it's the mover or second of the original motion, so you can change the motion.
Minor changes, yeah.
Yeah, on that point, that's fine. We can do that. So you can put that motion to a vote if we're happy to vote on that. If you're not happy with that, the motion will lapse and then will be renegotiated. So does anyone want to
Seconded.
second that motion?
Start.
Well,
Okay, councillor Treasure is going to second the motion. Do you want to speak to that motion, councillor Tina?
Yeah. Well, as I've sort of already outlined, I think that that the quorum required was inflexible. So now it's got more flexibility in terms of not having to have everyone present at that, to have a meeting, and a meeting can be called within 5 days, I believe. So it's, and sometimes these meetings are called impromptually. So I think it's a really good idea that we don't have to have everyone present, but obviously if the chair can't be present, he can appoint a chair, but there'll always be 2 councillors there. And
committee members.
2 committee members, yeah. But there'll always be 2 councillors as well, and the committee
Of
member
course,
possibly, yeah. And the second one is, as I pointed out, is I think that the CEO should be a step away from appointing anyone to have anything to do with the committee in that respect. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone else want to speak to the motion or against the motion? Okay, I'll put that motion to a vote.
are we clear on the?
Would you like me to read the motion?
Yeah,
Yeah.
perhaps
Yes.
if you do, just
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah, so that council endorses the CEO Employment Matters Committee Terms of Reference 2025, subject to the following changes.
Yep.
It's the first dot point, quorum updated as follows. A quorum of the chair and at least 2 committee members is required for a meeting.
A chair, not the chair, a chair.
Of a chair, yep. Updated that, and then deletion of the following sentence, the engagement of an independent advice will be, or if requested by the committee, will be undertaken by an officer appointed by the CEO.
I'm happy with that. I'm happy to move that as it's written.
As
there.
written.
Yeah.
And I'll second if you need it again. Second.
Right.
That's it.
Opposer, seconder, all in favour of the motion. That motion is carried.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Very good.
Yes, yes.
Very good. All right, we can ask the CEO to come back in.
Yep.
Yeah, good to have the governance rules handy.
Yeah, but then you'll lose the page, mate.
I don't know if I can zoom far enough.
Welcome back, Madam CEO.
Thank you.
Okay, 13.3.4 is the local government performance reporting framework. The responsible officer is Ms. Schneider. Welcome. Again, and the purpose to report to council on mid-year results against the local government performance reporting framework 24-25 measures. Councillors, any questions?
Yep.
Councillor Brennan.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. How are we performing?
We're actually going quite well, I think. I had a look at, well, obviously it's only a mid-year, so it's 6 months, but I think it's going pretty much target here.
Any other questions, councillors?
No. I'd like to move that council note the mid-year report on the local government performance reporting framework indicators for the period 1st July 2024 to 31st December 2024.
Thank you, councillor Brenny. Seconded to the motion, councillor Clark. Would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
Councillor Clark, anyone else want to speak to it? Anyone want to speak against the motion? In that case, I'll put the motion to a vote. Those in favour? Motion's carried. Thank you, and 13.4.1 Outlying Communities Infrastructure Fund. Welcome, Alex. Means. Just say again, welcome. 13.4.1 is the Outlying Communities Infrastructure Fund. The responsible officer, Community Networks and Wellbeing Officer, Ms. Alex Neens. Welcome. The purpose to provide council with further information on requests for funding from the Outlying Communities Infrastructure Fund and to seek council endorsement of recommendations for funding. Councillors, over to you. Any questions? You go. No,
I was just going to ask about the shade structure and the sale for the playground, $15,600, or what's it? It must be quite elaborate and big, is it? The shade structure out there that they're proposing.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I believe it is. I do have the specifications for the shade structure that I can provide it as well.
Okay, yeah,
Off the top of my head, I can't quite remember what the dimensions are.
yeah. So it's going right over the whole playground, is it? This
I believe
shade?
it is.
And if I may comment,
you
it's the-
may, Councillor Clark.
thank you, in response to Mr. Teen's the cost is also the poles to maintain the structure, putting the concrete in and things like that. This is, it is quite a costly activity.
They're expensive. Yeah.
There'd be a lot of concrete in that. Any other questions, councillors? I've got one. I'm delighted. That's a question. I'll start off with. I'm absolutely delighted to see that there's 50 metres of post and rail fencing going up. Will that be a community project? Will community be in charge of that? Do you know whether they're cutting that fence posts or not, or just buying them?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I would have to double check that with the community group. I know they certainly the $6,000 is for the fencing, and then the community group are going to have working bees to install the fencing. But whether they're cutting it or buying it as is, I'm not entirely sure. Sorry.
Yeah, sure. No.
And through Ms. Mayor, I
Question without notice.
think it might be being donated, the actual timber, but not all of it.
Yeah.
So I think some is, some isn't. They have some access to some, but other they need to purchase.
Right. And I've got one other question. The $10,000 for the Delatite Valley Association. Can you elaborate on where that's going to be spent?
So that's for the feasibility study for the public park and DDA toilet facility at Merrijig.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just not including the footbridge, which was originally.
And I'm happy to elaborate on that one because
Thank
I
you.
actually met with the association. We had a quarterly meeting and yeah, it was confirmed. I did ask the question. It was confirmed for a site survey and a concept plan is what that, and what they will do is include the ideas from the community on that concept plan. So it will look at where the services run, for instance, like the sewer, where that runs, so where a future toilet location could go. But the idea is to really try and capture the ideas from the community on a site survey plan.
Yeah, sure.
Question on
Yeah,
that.
Councillor
Mr.
Brett.
Mayor. And will that be able to be included into the Delatite Valley Master Plan more generally?
Yes, I think the short answer through you, Mr. Mayor, is yes. We have, wherever possible, we've used community input to drive those strategic plans. So we will certainly take that on board. I'm not exactly sure about the timing of one versus the other, but assuming that we haven't finished the plan before they finish their concept plan, I'm sure that Ms. Crane will, the team will take it on board. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
Any other questions, councillors? In that case, Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move a motion that I will read this one, that Council number 1 notes the further information provided and the project proposals from the Delatite Valley Association, Howcliffe Inlet, and Max Cove Community Group and Jamison Community Group as outlined in this report. 2, endorses the award of funding from the Outlying Communities Infrastructure Fund to the Delatite Valley Association Inc. for a maximum amount of $10,000 to complete a site survey and concept plan for the Merrijig Public Park. 3, endorses the award of funding from the Outlying Communities Infrastructure Fund to the Hauka and Max Cove Community Group for $17,100 for the Max Cove Community Notice Board and Playground Shade Sale. 4, endorses the award of funding from the Outlying Communities Infrastructure Fund to the Jamison Community Group for $6,000 for the post and rail fence at Jamison.
Thank you, Ms. Councillor Clark. I've got a seconder for that motion, Councillor Brennan. Councillor Clark, do you want to speak to the motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to thank the Delatite Valley Association particularly for coming and presenting to our council briefing recently and discussing this project. And I'm excited that we can move forward with it. And I'm always excited to fund outlying community projects. So I'm looking forward to seeing these come to fruition.
Thank you, Councillor Brennan.
No.
Any other councillor want to speak to the motion? Anyone want to speak against the motion? I want to say something. I think it's a great outcome that we've got some money left over and we've been able to use that money more generally amongst our community. I know there's a lot of people wanting a lot. And I would say to community groups to be, active in putting in their submissions, if we do include it in this year's budget, of course. So $10,000 to the Delatite Valley to work out what they, what it needs, probably a good amount of money. 17,100 for the Max Cove playground notice board and shade sale is fantastic, because Max Cove sort of gets missed a little bit. So well done, Max Cove, for that. And on great, fantastic outcome to get a community group to put up a post and rail fence. And you know what, I'm always banging on about keep a country, and that's going to it working very well with the overall look of Jamison. So congratulations to everyone if this motion gets up. So I'll put the motion to a vote. For those in favour? The motion is carried. Thank you. You can stay on. Alex, I've got another one for you. It's item 13.4.2 is the Sport and Recreation Reference Group and Aquatic Facilities Working Group membership. You're the responsible officer, and this report is to provide council with information on the nominations received for the Sport and Recreation Reference Group and the Aquatic Facilities Working Group, and to seek council endorsement of the group members. So over to you, councillors, with any questions you might have.
Miss Nins, how often or regularly are these groups proposed to meet?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, in the draft terms of reference, it's currently biannually. However, we did have an information session just to meet some of the expressions of interest last week, and they proposed to perhaps meet quarterly to start off with, just so the group, while it's being established, that we can have more regular contact.
Okay, and are these groups going to have is someone going to chair them from council, the council representative on them?
So I'll be looking after the Sport and Recreation Reference Group, and our Manager of Field Services, Tasman Clean, will be looking after the Aquatic Facilities Working Group. And then we also have asked the group members if anyone would like to volunteer, if they would like to chair or to minute take.
Okay, and how will council get feedback from, we get feedback from these groups via yourself or via the chair of these groups?
Via myself.
Okay. And how regularly will that happen? Every, what's proposed? Quarterly? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Mm.
I can move the motion on the council endorse the members of the two groups as written on page 41 of the agenda.
So I want to read the whole lot out.
I'll probably
Okay.
get someone's name wrong. But yeah.
We'll go with that then. The seconder of the motion, councillor Treasure. Councillor Tan, do you want to speak to the motion?
Yeah, I think this is a really good step forward in terms of sport and rec in the Shire. We haven't had these groups for a long time, or a group like this, and hopefully that they can all get together and really get behind sport in Mansfield, put their different clubs aside for the betterment of the sport and facilities in the Shire going forward.
Yeah. Councillor Treasure, can you speak to it?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Anyone else,
No,
any other
can't help it.
councillor want to speak to the motion?
Yeah, I just want to make one comment, Mr Mayor.
Yes.
Just, I thought it was really great how many people nominated for these groups. I'm really glad that people are getting engaged with this, and it shows how important rec and aquatic facilities are to our community. So I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of them. Thanks, Alex, for all your work. Miss you, Miss. So.
Good one. Does anyone want to speak against the motion? In that case, I'll put this motion to a vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried. As per page 41. 13.4.3 is the council plan actions 2024 and 25. Half-year report. Thanks, Ms. Means. Thank you. Councillor, so the responsible officer is Ms. Nola Cleland, Executive Manager, Community Health and Wellbeing. Welcome.
Hello.
Cleland. The report to council and progress made against the council plan 21-25 actions for the first half of 24-25 financial year is the purpose of this. Councillors, you got any questions? No. Right. So there is a recommendation on page 46. There's no questions or comments.
I'd like to move that council receives the council plan 2021-2025 half-year report for 2024-2025 actions.
Thank you. And a seconder, councillor Clark. Right. Councillor Breen, do you want to speak to the motion?
Just that council's doing well in all of these areas, and proud to be here and proud to work everyone's doing.
Speaking to the motion.
I'd like to speak to the motion.
Good.
And just affirm what a great job.
Well done. Does anyone else want to speak to the motion?
No, thank
Against
you.
the motion? And I'll put that motion to a vote. All those in favour of the motion? And the motion is carried. Thanks. Ms. Cleland. 13.5.1. Naming of roads, features, or localities policy. And the responsible officer is Mr. Michael McCormick. Welcome, Mr. McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
The purpose is to seek council endorsement for the revised naming of roads, features and localities policy. Any questions, council? I've got one. How often does this come before council? Is it every 4 years or so?
This policy,
Yes.
yeah, it's reviewed every 4 years.
Yeah. So when council's newly elected, this policy comes in as part of the the vanilla part of what we have to deal with. Yeah. Thank you. That's the team.
Yeah, Mr. McCormick, can you just run us through any, if there is any major changes this policy from previous one?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, from my knowledge, there is no significant changes from the previous policy.
Yep, that's what I picked up too, so glad to hear it.
I'd like to move that council endorses the naming of roads, features or localities policy 2025 and notes the updated naming of roads, features and localities procedure.
Thank you. Seconded to the motion, councillor Clark. Councillor Barini, do you want to speak to the motion?
No.
Councillor Clark, any other councillor want to speak to that motion? Against it? The motion to a vote. All those in favour?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCormick. Well done.
Worth hanging around for.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh, that's a hard work out of the way. Nearly, councillors. We've got item 14, which is a council meeting resolution actions status register. The report presents to council the Mansfield Shire Council meeting resolution action status register. Councillor T and
I can move that council receive and note the Mansfield Shire Council meeting resolutions action status register as at the 6th of March 2025.
thank you, councillor Toon and councillor Treasure second. Councillor Toon, do you want to speak to the motion?
No, thanks.
Councillor Treasure, do you want to speak?
No, thank you, Mr.
Any
Mayor.
other councillor want to speak to or against the motion? I'll put that motion to a vote. Councillors, all those in favour of the motion? The motion is carried. Thank you. Item 15, advisory and special committee reports is nil. Item 16, authorisation of sealing of documents, nil. Item 17 is the closure of a meeting to members of the public. Councillor
I can
T.
move that council close the meeting to members of the public under section 66(2)(a) of the Local Government Act 2020 to consider confidential reports in accordance with section 66(2) of the Local Government Act 2020 for reasons set out in section 18 below.
Thank you, councillor T, and the seconder, councillor Treasure. All those in favour of the motion? The motion is carried. So we will be back after we go into our confidential report for the impact route variation request Hunt Lane seal upgrade. Thank you. Stay tuned.
Happens if someone doesn't pass the motion.
What lapses?
Ah.
And we don't do it.
We just don't do it.
No.
Might be counterproductive.
Yeah. welcome back, everyone. We closed the meeting for a confidential council meeting to consider a contract, and that was the only thing in there. And I'm happy to advise that the contract to Alpine Civil, and I won't read out the various amounts, but Alpine Civil's been awarded a contract to put more asphalt and thicker asphalt down on the Highton Lane upgrade. So that's a with savings that we made from doing the project. That was Councillor Tehan and proposed it. Councillor Treasure seconded it, and it was voted on unanimously. So well done there, and thanks everyone for watching. Council staff, thanks for coming in tonight. Councillors, thank you for your attendance and well done. It's a good meeting, and I'll close the meeting tonight at 18:22 hours. Thank you.